he comes from this conservative background, and he has this overarching political philosophy, which is conservative. And so how would you define it, and how would you compare it to what we think of as, in America today, the conservative movement?
Related, but not at all equivalent. I mean, you think about what did he think about foreign policy? He thought that the U.S. served the world best by example. That's also, his name wasn't Calvin by accident. He was you know what the names in their families were? They were Calvin, Oliver, and John Calvin. It was about like that. And Calvin, Oliver Cromwell, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of them was named Julius Caesar. You just wonder what they were reading. They're wonderful people. America was an example. It had to be an example. He had to be an example. He was seemingly, though we can never know everything, a very virtuous man. He lived by example. He told the country to be frugal. He lived frugally. There was no great disconnect between his private and public comportment, and that served him very well. He was for tariffs. Why? I think he did say at one point, I go up or down with my party. The GOP was his party. The Republicans were the party of tariffs. The Democrats were the party of the income tax. At that point, it was tariffs or income tax, you could pick. But also he saw them as politically expedient. Why? He was around Lowell and Lawrence, Massachusetts in the rough periods of the strikes. We had progressives in the United States, and those are famous strikes in Massachusetts at textile factories. What does the owner of the factory do? He can give in to the strikers or prevent a strike with higher wages, but only if he doesn't have competition from overseas sending cheaper textiles. Only if he doesn't price himself out of the market by supporting his workers. So I think Coolidge's main view of tariffs was they help keep America calm. And that's not different from the protectionism of today. Whether that's true, I don't know, because of course, every little price goes up when you have tariffs at the Walmart for us. But in the day, prices were high because we didn't have international competition. So that was the trade-off. So that he had that in common with current conservatives. He never, though, said a nasty word about an opponent that I can find in public. When he was very young, he did, and he writes in this remarkable autobiography that he rused even that because he believed you should give more time to your own subject and your own merits when you're campaigning than to trashing the opponent. So he wasn't a populist who lived off resentment, which is what many politicians, including many Republicans, are today. Not like that. He said, don't expect to help the weak by pulling down the strong. He would never say the elite are bad because in effect, we are all elite. As he said, to be a US citizen was to be of a rank with kings. He just didn't buy any of that class warfare stuff. So that was very traditional and not quite like now when they get on the TV and say the elites. I think he was a very recognizable person, including to Jews. He was a person who was responsible for his own virtue, didn't particularly like being chastised by others, but took it upon himself to teach himself how to be virtuous, more of a Calvinist. In my view, Judaism has a lot more in common with that than some other Christian denominations. Very close to the Bible. Family read the Bible a lot. Very close to the framers who also read the Bible a lot. You can hear the Bible in his writings.